Today on Nursing Matters, why nurses quit in 1 year and how to stay. I'm Christina, and this is your daily dose. Let's get into it. Hey guys, I have a quick favor to ask of you. If you're enjoying the content that we're producing through Nursing Matters, or if you're a member of the RN Network and like our career articles or all of the resources that we work so hard to create for you, I would appreciate it if you'd take 1 second to like and subscribe so we can continue doing this. I love this part of my day, and I hope you do too. Thank you so much. So new data from NSI Nursing Solutions shows first-year nurse turnover is now at 18.4%. That's the highest it's been in a decade. Now, this number isn't just a workforce statistic. It represents real nurses who came in with everything and left before they ever found their footing. It represents real nurses who walked into healthcare with a purpose. Nurses who studied for years, passed the boards, blood, sweat, and tears, stepped onto the floor ready to help people, and then they left before they ever found their footing. And if we're honest, this didn't just happen overnight. Over the last several years, the expectations placed on new nurses have grown dramatically. Higher patient acuity, staffing shortages, documentation burdens, it's constant operational pressure. At the same time, many new nurses are entering environments where the support systems that used to exist simply aren't as strong as they once were. Historically, nursing had a very clear transition into practice. There were strong residency programs, protected orientation time, experienced nurses available to mentor and guide. But in many organizations today, new nurses are stepping into environments where everyone is already stretched super thin. The experienced nurses who normally mentor are managing larger patient loads, and leadership teams are under pressure to keep units staffed and operational. So what happens? A new nurse arrives excited and hopeful, and within months they're overwhelmed, questioning whether they made the right decision about their career. And many of them quietly leave. But here's the part healthcare leaders need to understand. This is not a nurse resilience problem. This is a system design problem. When nearly 1 in 5 nurses leaves in their first year, the issue is not the individual. It's the environment that they're entering. Employers who want to reverse this trend need to focus on 3 things. First, structured transition programs. Nurse residency programs cannot be treated as optional anymore. They are essential infrastructure. New nurses need time to develop clinical confidence, and that means protected learning time and realistic patient assignments. Second, there has to be that intentional mentorship. New nurses should not be left to figure things out alone. We know what happens. We've all been there when we've had to figure out something ourselves, and then we did it wrong over and over. Pairing them with experienced nurses who are recognized and compensated for mentoring can make an enormous difference in whether a nurse stays or leaves. And third, psychological safety on the unit. Nurses need to feel safe asking questions, safe admitting when they're unsure, and safe learning from mistakes. Healthcare is way too complex for anyone to be expected to know everything immediately. Organizations that build cultures of learning retain nurses. Organizations that operate in constant crisis modes, well, a lot of you have been there, and you know what happens then. You're going to lose them. And the stakes are much bigger than staffing metrics. If we continue losing nearly 20% of nurses in their first year, we are creating a pipeline problem that will ripple across the entire healthcare system. Less experienced nurses staying in the profession means fewer future charge nurses, fewer educators, and fewer nurse leaders. Ultimately, fewer nurses available to care for patients. Access to care isn't just about hospital beds or technology. It depends on having a stable, experienced nursing workforce. If we don't address first-year nurse turnover now, we're going to see the consequences in longer wait times, overwhelmed emergency departments, and reduced access to care in communities across the country. Think of where we are today and think of how much worse it's going to get. The good news here, though, let's find that silver lining, is this is a solvable problem. Healthcare organizations that invest in early career nurses, that support them, mentor them, and give them time to grow, consistently see stronger retention and stronger teams. Because when a new nurse finds their footing, something very powerful happens. They stay, they grow, and eventually they become the nurse who helps the next generation find their way. That's the cycle we have to rebuild. So let's do it. So I've spent 20 years in healthcare talent acquisition, and I can tell you exactly why nurses leave in 1 year. And it almost never has anything to do with the work itself. Honestly, it has to do with belonging, whether they feel seen, whether their preceptor actually invested in them or just tolerated them. The nurses who stay aren't tougher. They found one person, one, who made them feel like they belonged there. That one preceptor who said, "You're doing better than you think." The one charge nurse who stepped in when things were totally overwhelming. One teammate who said, "I've got you. Let's figure this out together." That one person changes anything, changes everything. Because the first year of nursing is hard, let's face it. It's really supposed to be hard. You're taking everything you just learned in school and applying it to real human beings with complex conditions, families in crisis, and situations that can change in seconds. There is no textbook that can prepare you for that. Let's just be real. But here's the difference. When a new nurse feels supported, they interpret the difficulty as growth. When they feel alone, they interpret the same difficulty as failure. And that's the moment many of them start quietly planning their exit. Not because they can't do the job, but because they don't believe anyone wants them there. Healthcare leaders talk a lot about resilience, but I'll tell you something we don't say out loud enough. Resilience grows in environments where people feel they belong. You can't build resilient nurses inside cultures where they feel invisible. So when I see statistics like first-year turnover climbing, I don't immediately think about staffing models or productivity metrics. I think about culture. I think about the preceptor who never wanted to be a preceptor in the first place, but was assigned the role anyway. I think about the experienced nurse who is carrying 6 patients and simply doesn't have the bandwidth to mentor someone, yet that's the expectation. I think about new nurses who are terrified to ask questions because they don't want to look incompetent. These are human problems, not operational ones, and we have to change our mindset. If we're serious about fixing retention, we have to design systems that make belonging intentional. Choose preceptors carefully, train them well, reward them for developing the next generation. Because mentorship is not a side task in nursing. It's how the profession survives. Every experienced nurse you see today got through their first year because someone showed them how. Someone stood beside them when they were unsure. Someone answered the question they were afraid to ask. Someone told them, "You're going to be a great nurse." If healthcare organizations want nurses to stay, they need to stop thinking about onboarding as a checklist, because it's not. It's a relationship. And when that relationship is strong, new nurses don't just survive their first year. They build their entire careers there. So one last thing, find your one person this week. Not a mentor, not a formal relationship, just one nurse on your unit who makes you feel like you're supposed to be there. Text them, tell them they matter. Because here's the truth no one talks about enough in nursing. Those quiet relationships are what holds this whole system together. Not the policies, not the org charts, not the leadership memos, the relationships. The nurse who gives you that look across the station that says you're doing fine. The one who steps in without asking when they see you drowning. The one who remembers what it felt like to be new. That person, that's your anchor. And once you have that anchor, something shifts. The unit doesn't feel like a battlefield anymore. It starts to feel like a team. Now, here's the part I want leaders listening to understand. If your culture produces those relationships naturally, you will keep nurses, and you as a leader are doing a great job. If your culture crushes them with constant stress, impossible assignments, and zero psychological safety, you will lose nurses no matter how good your residency program looks on paper. You need to change. Because belonging cannot be manufactured in a classroom. It happens in the hallway after a rough shift. It happens when someone says, "Hey, I saw how you handled that patient. That was really good nursing." That's the moment confidence grows. So if you're a new nurse listening to this, your assignment this week is simple. Find your one person, and if you've been a nurse for a while, be someone else's person. You may think it's a small thing, but I promise you it's not. It might be the exact reason someone stays in this profession, and that's powerful. All right, that's your daily dose. Share this with a new nurse who needs to hear it today. I'm Christina. Keep showing up because nursing matters. Thank you for listening to this week's episode of Nursing Matters Daily Dose. Are you interested in more career resources? Then hop on over to the RN Network at rnnet.org. Also, while you're at it, hit that like and subscribe button and share this episode with one nurse who really needs to hear it. Thanks so much, and we'll see you next time.